Welcome to this edition of The Rhody Reporter. I'll be your host for the segment, Mark Zaccaria. Do you remember a program named Rhode Island Rising? How about Roadmap RI? They were both basically the same thing. These State Planning Commission efforts were the consequence of a United Nations plan named Agenda 21. All these elaborate schemes are aimed at the same thing: relieving you of your private resources so you will be completely dependent on government and radically changing the way we live our lives. Once that's accomplished, government will happily herd us all into high-rise, high-density living spaces where it can keep a paternal eye on each of us. Every time one of these globalization attempts is outed, its name is morphed into something new and euphemistic. That's how the erosion continues unabated. The small group of insiders behind all this hope the concentration of power in their hands will be inexorable. Hold that thought while I editorialize for a moment on Governor Gina Raimondo's latest pet project, the Transportation Carbon Initiative, or TCI. TCI is an interstate compact among 12 U.S. states and the District of Columbia. The agreement creates a jointly held fund to be used to build out green energy projects whose results will ostensibly be to decrease the carbon footprint of the northeast quadrant of the U.S. Where will the money come from, you ask? Why, your pocket, of course. The states who sign on to this con game will impose arbitrary administrative fees on wholesalers of petroleum-based motor fuels. Once those new overhead costs are passed on to the consumers, the result is projected to be between a 5-cent and 17-cent increase per gallon of gasoline and diesel fuel. It will feel just like a tax, but it's much more insidious than that. This will be a tax that the state legislature never considered or approved. That's an end-around bypass of the General Assembly's constitutional authority to raise tax revenue. Well played, Governor. By the way, if you think New England can have any determinate effect on the carbon content of the entire atmosphere of the Earth, or if you think that any of the dollars raised by this scheme will ever go towards Rhode Island capital projects to do so, this must be your very first visit to the world your humble Rhody reporter has inhabited for decades. There is no consent of the governed here. This is predatory behavior by those in office because they can, and because they need to cover the abysmal job they've done managing the fiscal affairs of the state. That's why I'm shouting from the rooftops in opposition to this stealth theft of my hard-earned money. Don't you think you should be screaming bloody murder too?